Mafia. We the Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia.
You know who the beast in the AFC East. We gon' grind this thing out for 17 weeks. Yeah. You hating on the Bills, then you way off. Talk is cheap, meet us in the playoffs. Game day, you know we going off. Got your team captain shaking at the coin toss. We say Mafia, that means family to me. Cause we stand with the team, best fans in the league.
Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. We the Mafia.
With hope. What's up, y'all? Just get all fed up cause I got a little cheddar and my record's moving out the store. Young folks spitting at me, young rappers getting at me. My looking big, predicted this exactly. More money, more problems, gotta move carefully. Cause the guys hate when you getting money like athletes. Youngins ice grilling me. Oh, you not feeling me? Fine, it costs you nothing. Pay me no mind. Look, I'm on my grind, cousin.
Welcome, everybody, into the show. And, of course, happy Friday night. We're your host. I am, of course, Jake, a.k.a. the Northeastern Nostradamus. He is Justus, a.k.a. the GM. And we're your Friday night guys underneath the Friday night lights. And this is Built Different. But before we even start the show, Justus, I got a question for you, like I always do.
What up?
What's your favorite part about Christmas?
You know what? It's a lot to be grateful for in Christmas, and there's a lot of favorite parts to have. But I think I would have to go with giving back to others.
Well, I happen to agree with you, and helping those in need is why this and every other show on the Buffalo FAMbase is brought to you by all the wonderful people over at 26 Shirts, where for a limited time, you can get the Merry Buffalo 2022 shirt presented by West Hair Automotive Group. And the best part is, the shirt also helps Melanie Diaz like our shirt last week. The shirt's gone after this weekend, so make sure to act fast. The link for the shirt and GoFundMe will be down in the description for everybody interested. And yeah, go make sure to check it out because it's the Christmas season. And, you know, the one thing that we really want to do is to help those in need. And Melanie is really needs a lot of people's help right now. So if you guys can do that, make sure to go check that out as well. But Justus, it's been a week, dude. Like, so last time we were on here, we were sitting like, okay, we need the Bills. We need this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. Well, it all happened, dude. Like
all of it.
every single thing happened, which you know, with a little bit of luck, we were able to get it. How's your week been, though? I mean, it's been basically, you know, there's Victory Monday, but it feels like Victory Week.
Yeah, for sure. We had a Victory Friday. Everything happened on Sunday. We got to enjoy a great slate of football games on Sunday. And a lot of them went the way we wanted them to go. Virtually all of the important ones went the way we needed them to go. So got a Victory Monday on top of it. Super great, you know, a little under the weather, but honestly, who cares when the Bills are winning? Like everything else really doesn't matter as much, right? You know,
it's like my tweet I put out. I said I would legitimately sacrifice myself so that Bills Mafia could enjoy a Super Bowl win if I had to. And I was very surprised at some of the responses I got to that tweet. They're like, I'm not going to let y'all celebrate while I'm dead. I'm like, maybe I just got that different mindset, man. Like, I don't know. But, you know, let's talk about it, right? So around the NFL, let's talk about the big main glaring thing that happened for us to really be in the position where we are right now. So the Chiefs lose to the Bengals 27-24. Now, I know you've had some strong opinions on the Bengals ever since we've started this season. And right now, we needed them to do something for us. And now, I mean, Joe Burrow's undefeated against these Chiefs, man. Like he seems to have that dog in him when he has to go play Patrick Mahomes. And how'd you feel about this game? Because I sat there the whole time just hoping that the Bengals weren't going to let the Chiefs get back into it, and the Bengals ended up closing out the game.
Well, you know, the Bengals tried their best to give the game away, and I'm not going to nitpick, but I was watching it, I turned it on. You know, I'm turning on Red Zone. We don't play, so I'm not like super focused on everything. And I see, the Bengals are winning. All right, cool. So I started watching it, and of course, as soon as I start watching it, is when everything starts going to hell.
So you turned it off, right?
No, I kept watching. Like just praying and hoping. So the Bengals, stuff like 4th and 1, running a reverse on the goal line. It was just a lot of stuff. Tyler Boyd dropping. Oh my God,
dude!
Talk about the worst drop you're going to see this year. And he just dropped it, just went
right
through his
hands.
hands.
That hit him.
I was like,
did it? It looked like it hit him in the face mask.
I mean, yeah, but like you can't get a more perfectly thrown ball on, like, the closest person to him was at least 20 yards away.
He was he's gone if he gets that.
No, he was in the end zone and dropped it. Like, it was just egregious. It was terrible. Like my 7-year-old niece, or I think she's like 11 now. My 11-year-old niece could catch that football. I just, that. So when I see things like that, I was like, oh yeah, the Chiefs are gonna win this game. Like, it's just foregone conclusion at this point. And Harrison Butker missed that field goal. That was huge.
It never happens.
I understand what people say. Joe Burrow goes crazy when he plays them. I'd argue against that, but this isn't the time. He did go crazy in that last game. Okay, he played pretty well, 25 and 31, 286 and 2 tutties. I'm not gonna complain about that. I still believe that 60% of his talent is Jamar Chase, but that's neither here nor there. I am appreciative of the Bengals for beating the Chiefs when we needed them to. Because we're going to smack around the Bengals in a couple weeks. So, and I can't wait until we do. So, like, this whole, the Bengals are the top dog in the AFC. You know what? I'm not hating. I'm not hating, Jake. I'm not hating. All right. Thank you to the Bengals. Y'all did great. Shout out to the Bengals defense. They always seem to get it done against Patrick Mahomes when they absolutely need to. 16 and 27 for 223 in the touchdown. That's a bad game for Patrick Mahomes.
It is 100%. And I kind of like where you were coming from. You brought up the fact that immediately everybody was like, oh, well, here's your top dog in the AFC. And I sat there and I was like, okay. They were like, oh, well, look at who the Bengals have beat. They're like, the Bengals have beaten the Titans. They've beaten the Chiefs. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, we beat the Titans. We beat the Chiefs. We have beat the Ravens. Yeah, we've beat the Ravens. The Bengals haven't even played the Ravens yet. So it's like I'm sitting here going like, okay, I hear
leader so far.
Yeah, we have. So I'm sitting here going like, I hear what you're saying, but like they're sitting here going like, yeah, no, they're the best team. Look who they're beating, all these people. And then it's just kind of like, yeah, but the Bills have also beat those people. And really, all the Bills have to do, like, what? Is it going to come down to who's the best team in the NFL? Is that Monday night game? Probably in their eyes, that's what it's going to be. But, like, in reality, they're making it sound like the Bills need to beat the Bengals when, in my eyes, I feel like the Bengals need to beat the Bills. Like, I know, like, we're going to talk about the number 1 seed. Obviously, we got the number 1 seed from everything that happened this weekend. But the second thing that happened for that to happen was, The Dolphins were embarrassed by Brock Purdy, which as soon as Jimmy G went down in that game, I literally tweeted out, I was like, oh, great. Now we have to bet on Brock Purdy to beat the Dolphins. And every single Dolphins game I've ever watched, when I tweet something out during the game, like the complete opposite happens. I'll be like, oh, look at these bums, the Dolphins. We all knew they were. And then like all of a sudden Brock Purdy turns into Joe Montana. And you're like, oh, whoa, this dude, he's making some of these tight throws. You're like, whoa, who's this guy? This is Mr. Irrelevant. Justus. The Dolphins got embarrassed by Brock Purdy. Like it wasn't, and I like to say it was Brock Purdy. It really wasn't Brock Purdy. It was that damn good 49ers defense. But still, it feels nice to say that Brock Purdy beat the Dolphins. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, it looked like a Tua game, right? It was like Tua, he's this up and coming quarterback. Oh, he's the future. He is, the franchise quarterback you expected him to be. But then you go and look at the slate of games that he's played, and he's played against, some not great teams, or at least not great defenses. And then he goes up against a great defense, and he looks like a not top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. He looks like a not franchise quarterback. So it's like, all right, well, what do you think of Tua actually? So, a good quarterback does beat the teams he's supposed to beat. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they even struggle against great defenses. So it's fair. But he did more than struggle. He looked really, really bad. And Kyle Shanahan, for my money, is the best coach in the NFL. So the way he had those guys prepared to play, it was a great game plan by him.
And I think the main thing that I want to point out of that game is that Tua really looked off. I don't know what it was, but it really felt like for the guy who everybody annoying says he's the most accurate quarterback in the league. For that guy, as soon as a little bit of pressure starts getting him to just be sailing some of these throws, that just tells you the importance of that Teron Armstead pickup that they did in the offseason, right? Is that when Armstead went down in the Houston game, and of course he wasn't in the 49ers game, he goes down, and immediately after that, I believe it was in the next 9 plays, Tua was sacked 4 times, and then they pulled Tua. And then this game comes out, you've got Nick Bosa going up against some, you have Nick Bosa going up against a practice squad offensive tackle, and he's just getting back there to Tua almost every single rep. And Tua's feeling that pressure, and he's sailing these throws that he normally makes when he has all that time back there. So, yeah, I think that this really just shows that the Dolphins, when Andy didn't have Jalen Waddle for two quarters. So, when Jalen Waddle's also not really a big factor in the game plan, the defense can really shut down Tyreek Hill. So I really think that I think the Dolphins kind of have 2 players that if you don't have those guys, you're like, I don't think Tua is the dude who can elevate anybody else. And I feel like we've known that about his play, which is why I still won't stand here and let people tell me that Tua is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. I don't think so. I think Herbert has the ability to lift other people up, even though he hasn't really, done it very much. But Tua hasn't done it. So I'm kind of picking here, like cherry picking. I just think that the escapability of Justin Herbert makes him a little bit more like I saw Justin Herbert throw that. You saw the throw he had to Keenan Allen. Like, what was that last week against the Raiders? I mean, that was just Tua doesn't make that throw.
Yeah,
he doesn't. I'm sorry. So it's just I think that the Dolphins, you can see the cracks, and if they don't they're going on they literally play the Chargers this week, so we get to see the Emmanuel Acho Bowl and see who's the better quarterback. But yeah, just the Dolphins, they lose, and we're number 1 in the AFC East, and we're number 1 in the AFC. So that also happened around the NFL. But now talking about things that didn't really affect the Bills, but kind of things that just suck to see. Lamar Jackson, PCL injury. Lamar going down, that is just not something you want to see. Thankfully, when he went down, it was like scary, right? You hear knee, and the thing that I hate is that Lamar Jackson is always that guy that they're like, oh, he's just one big hit away from his career being different. And then you see him take a hit and you hear that it's a knee injury and you're like, oh no. Like, that's just the one thing you don't want for a dude whose primary like way of attacking on offense is running. So you hear that and you're like, God, please don't be anything serious. And with a PCL injury, while it's not like an ACL or anything like that, it's still 1 to 3 weeks of recovery time. So when you saw Lamar go down, what do you think that means for the Ravens going forward? Because they're still the leader in that division, but the Bengals are getting hot at the right time.
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel like the Ravens are in a position where it's not the worst thing in the world because they have a really, really good backup. Is he Lamar Jackson? By no stretch of the imagination is he a former MVP, Heisman winner, All Pro. Lamar Jackson. Okay, the Lamar Jackson disrespect. I could say it until I'm blue in the face that it has to stop, but y'all are like getting out of hand now.
It's like Tyrod Taylor
that
disrespect levels. Like, I just you can't.
Yeah,
you can't.
But it's even more egregious because that man has been the best quarterback in the league in his career. So like to sit here and try to write him off is absolutely nuts to me. So when I look at it from that perspective, okay, I say okay. The thing that is good for the Ravens is that they are a team where the quarterback and his gifted abilities are not totally contingent upon his arm, right? It's like 60-40, I would say. 60-40 in terms of his legs is unreal. But his arm is also unreal, but it's not more unreal than, anybody else in the league, which, you can say for his legs. They're unreal, right? So Tyler Huntley has unreal legs. Not like Lamar, but he does have unreal legs. He has a pretty good arm too. Again, not like Lamar's, but it's serviceable enough to where a good coach like, Harbaugh can foster that. He can use it a lot like, a lot like Kyle Shanahan, does with the quarterbacks he has to work with, Jimmy Garoppolo or Purdy, whatever the case may be. Good coaches put their quarterbacks in positions to succeed. And I think that Tyler Huntley is at the very least an average quarterback. So I feel like with the right situation and the fact that the Ravens are blessed because they're a team that is based on defense and running the football. So they have always had a good defense. They always had at least a defense that's going to be, ferocious, if nothing else. And running the football. They always have a good running game, and you keep a piece behind center that can run very, very, very well. So there, I'm looking at it and I can see where there's a world where the Ravens are going to be okay. So I won't like totally write them off yet. You can look at this weekend. They got the Steelers, then they got the Browns, then they got the Falcons, then they got the Steelers again. Yeah. So can they win all 4 of those games? Absolutely, positively. And then they got the Bengals at the end of the season, which could be for the division, and you have Lamar Jackson back. So I think the Ravens are going to be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they really avoided a what would you say, a catastrophe with Lamar Jackson only having a PCL injury. So I really thought they dodged a bullet, and I think that the coaching that they have, maybe it's going to be better. I'm actually more excited. This isn't anything I had on the list too, but definitely the fact that we have, Chan Gailey being in talks to possibly be the next head coach of Stanford. I'll look that up, but to go to college to be a head coach, I think that might be the best thing for the Ravens. Honestly, Ravens fans want it so bad because I really feel like Lamar Jackson and this offense they're running, it's so conservative.
Greg Roman, you mean?
Or Greg Roman, sorry, not Chan Gailey. Greg Roman. And it's just, I think they really need to let Lamar actually be a quarterback and let the quarterback be more of a focal point of the offense than just another running back. So I think that they need to expand that a little bit more, let him actually be a quarterback. And that might be a good thing for them as well. Let's talk about OBJ visiting 3 teams and leaving without a deal. We talked about OBJ last week when we were talking about him coming to Buffalo. Who would he rather play with? Well, he visited all 3 teams, Justus, and no deal. He's back home. He is possibly, if you have to go with what was the clip from, I believe, The Shop is what it was. He basically was like, the playoffs. That's pretty much what I'm like. Why would I play in the regular season? I probably could, but I'm looking at the playoffs. And I'm kind of wondering, okay, does that seal the deal that he's going to a team? I don't know if, unless you're really looking, obviously the Cowboys are going to be a playoff team, I think. But the Giants, I don't know about that. Like, it's still the Giants or the Cowboys and the Bills, and the Cowboys pretty much said that no, we're done with OBJ. Like, when Jerry Jones went on that radio show and was like he didn't want to work out for us or whatever, I don't feel comfortable doing it. That pretty much told me, okay, well, they're done. That whole Cowboys thing, that's done, man. Like, I don't feel comfortable. And OBJ puts out the little pawn emoji on Twitter after that comes out, and it's like, okay, were the Cowboys just a pawn? Is that what that whole was? Is he really just trying to go to Buffalo? I'm reading too far into this, Justice. I'm in the weeds with the OBJ sweepstakes. But what Sean McDermott said on the Rich Eisen show really made me, go that, okay, well, that's the complete opposite of what Jerry Jones was saying. They said, no, we feel comfortable with our doctors and saying that. Of course, he says that, and then immediately we find out that Von Miller was misdiagnosed and also had a torn ACL. So I'm like, okay, we really trust the doctors. Okay. But I still think that I would still trust our training staff like 10 times out of 10. And he was like, we don't feel that he needs to work out for us. So it kind of makes me feel like the best visit was probably the Bills, and that it's just kind of like, hey, around playoff time, we'll fit you in. That's what we'll do. We'll talk then. So how do you feel OBJ visiting 3 teams and still not leaving with a deal, and all of the fallout that's come from that?
Yeah, to your point, you talk about the playoffs being the focal point of his return. You look at it, and like you said, the Giants probably aren't going to make the playoffs. Actually, on Sunday in February, I did a show with K-Man, and I'm going to tell you guys his
look at the professional notebook he pulled out.
You know what I mean? Being a little more organized.
So professional around here.
This is how K-Man has the Giants or season playing out. They're 7-4-1 right now.
Yeah.
They lose to the Eagles. They lose to Washington. They lose to Minnesota. They beat Indy, and they lose to Philly. That put them at 8-8-1.
Yeah.
OBJ is not going there if K-Man has anything to say about it. Which, I mean, you seem to agree with.
I would say that the Vikings game is probably still a little bit more of a toss-up because I think the Vikings are just that's got to be the luckiest
he
team.
thinks they're frauds too. That's funny.
Yeah.
He thinks they're frauds too. So
yeah, but I still think that could be a toss-up.
Fair enough. But even then,
then they're 9-7-1.
9-7-1. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could get you into the playoffs, but chances are OBJ is not going to want to go to that, 6-7 wild card team.
That team needs to rebuild, man. That's
for sure. And you take it's impressive what they've done this far, because they should be rebuilding. But the way I don't know, I just feel like what the Cowboys did was like kind of disrespectful. They put on this big media circus. Everybody on Twitter is talking about OBJ's in Dallas. You got all the meme pages. They're all like the Cowboys pushed the button on this one. OBJ is in Dallas. He's doing this. He's doing that. Then they go into the game with Luka. Luka's talking about it. Yeah, we want OBJ. Yeah, we want this, that.
They're chanting OBJ in the stands at the Mavs game.
Yeah, and then you you have a situation where Jerry Jones gets on radio and just speaks to what I would consider recklessly. Like,
Yeah.
Even if you don't
Some
have
behind
OBJ
closed doors
at the end
stuff.
of the season, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't have him, I don't really see why you would have to say some of that stuff. Like, it just felt a little uncouth to me. And then you look at the Bills, and Sean McDermott pretty much was like the perfect gentleman after a date. You know what I mean? Like, he said all the right things. He, left it into the player's hand. He's not pressuring, the player to do anything, and, Jerry Jones sounds like a bitter guy after a date who didn't get none. You know what I mean? So I don't
Sounds
know,
like
man.
someone who got told no.
Exactly. So when I look at it from that perspective, I say those are your three teams. You focused on the playoffs. One basically disrespected you, and one is the clear better team of the three and didn't disrespect you. Should be a no-brainer to me, but
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We'll talk a little bit more about OBJ and the kind of no concerning over the knee and stuff like that a little bit later. But the last one that I really want to hit on, and this is really, really fresh because it happened last night, Justice. Baker Mayfield requested his release from the Panthers. And immediately my Twitter feed was filled with everybody being like, Baker's a bust. He sucks. And I'm sitting here going like, I just can't look at the Baker Mayfield story and go, what has he really had? Like, he had what, 3 different coordinators in his first couple years in Cleveland, including a couple of head coaches. He started out with I even forget was it Hugh Jackson who was there? But anyway, he starts at
Jackson, I think, Mike Pettin.
There was the interim head coach in there too. Anyway,
there
was just so much stuff. Then he gets traded to a lame duck coach in Matt Rule in Carolina to be like, no, here, try to do this. And of course, that doesn't work because that team stinks. And then finally, we see that Jimmy G goes down. And then we hear that he requests his release. And you're like, oh, okay, he wants to go to the 49ers. But then the Rams come out and they're kind of like, no, whether it was to pick up Baker because they believe he can be a saving grace for them, or whether it was just to stop him from going to the 49ers, I don't know.
The Rams were actually the only team to put a claim on him.
Yeah, but the
49ers didn't put a claim on him.
No, I know that, but what I'm saying is that I think since the 49ers probably already knew that the Rams were going to put the claim in on him and they're higher than them in the waiver order, why put a claim in when you know you're not going to get him? So, and plus, if news comes out that you put that claim in, then Brock Purdy's like, oh, okay, well, these guys don't really believe in me, blah, 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 whatever. Psyche stuff. Yeah. Like you don't want to psych out the guy who's going to be leading your team. So, so then he goes and he practices one day? I don't even think he had a practice.
He was there for 37 hours. I think he had one practice.
One practice, and he puts on the game jersey, and they beat the Raiders 17-16. Now, let me preface this by saying the Raiders stink. Okay, the Raiders stink, but the Rams also stink. But you know who stunk more? The Raiders. So Baker Mayfield comes in, leads the game again for a dude who had 1 day to practice, and he comes in and leads that drive at the very end and makes a clutch throw to Van Jefferson for a touchdown to win the game. I mean, Baker Mayfield, I think he might hit it big. Now, here's the thing. I know everyone's going to be like, oh, well, they couldn't prepare for Baker. There was no film of him with Sean McVay. I think Baker Mayfield still has the talent to where he finally now has a head coach. Now, we'll talk about Matt Stafford a little bit later, but he finally now has a head coach who's fully based on offense. Like Matt Rule is supposed to be that, but Matt Rule stinks. All right. That's why he's back in college right now. He got fired. And then Kevin Stefanski was also supposed to be that. They went to the playoffs and he won a playoff game. It was against a terrible Steelers team, but they still won one. So I think now you've seen what guys like Jared Goff looked like in the Sean McVay system. What does a guy like Baker Mayfield do? Does this resurrect his career? I don't know. But he had one game, and I think he looked pretty decent in it. How did you feel about Baker stepping in after one game and looking like a dude who might be a saving grace for the Rams in a terrible season?
Well, I don't think he played very well last night. I think he had a great last 2 drives. And it was
I mean, he had one day of practice. That's why I had to, like, he didn't play great, but fair. It's one day of practice. So
yeah, that's fair. Fair enough. On one day of practice, you gotta give him the benefit of the doubt. That's absolutely true. When I look at it, I say, so Matthew Stafford was extremely talented when he was, in Detroit. And he had the arm, he had all the tools to be a great quarterback. Just never really had the offensive firepower. Well, he did have the offensive firepower. He didn't have the offensive coaching to make it happen. Certainly not the team coaching. And when he finally got a good coach, and when that coach finally got a good quarterback, they immediately won a Super Bowl. That same coach took Jared Goff to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think Baker Mayfield could win a Super Bowl with last year's Rams. If you were to get Baker Mayfield as opposed to Matthew Stafford, I think you win a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield if you're the Rams and everything played out exactly how it did. I think Baker Mayfield is good enough to do what Sean McVay needs him to do, because Sean McVay is a genius. Sean McVay is a lot like a Kyle Shanahan in the sense where he's going to give you every single answer you need to know on the play. You just need to make the right decision. And
they come from the same same coaching tree. So
Gruden, if I'm not mistaken, over there in Washington, or no, was that Shanahan? So like I said, I think Baker Mayfield could win a Super Bowl with last year's Rams. I don't really think it makes too much of a difference this year, and I don't think he's going to surpass Jared Goff because Baker Mayfield wasn't the one who won the Super Bowl last year. It was Jared Goff, and to the victor goes the spoils. So Matt Stafford, excuse me.
I got you.
To the victor goes the spoils. So I think that Matt Stafford is going to always get the benefit of the doubt because he did it, and he, when he returns, this is going to be his team. Granted, the team looks the same after this year. But man, that last minute 30 was absolutely last 5 minutes rather, absolutely insane. When they scored the touchdown, 3 minutes left on the clock, I'm thinking it's not over, but and then when they stopped them, I was like, they might, I don't know. Something's just like go for it on fourth down here, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking with my logical brain, something's going to happen. They're going to get sacked or something. The game is going to end. But, they stopped them on third down rather. They punt the ball to the 2-yard line. Now I'm for sure the game is over. They get out of that hole. You get a situation where they sack Baker Mayfield, but then an idiot knocks the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hands. That's 15 yards. Clock stops. Automatic first down after a sack. And then you play press man, leaving your guy on the island. I don't care who the cornerback is. There's 15 seconds left in the game, and the opponent is at their own at your 30. Yeah. Why would you play press man? You need to be playing prevent because they need 7 points.
Because the offensive coordinator's from Yale.
Listen, man, that was very, very stupid. And, shout out to Baker Mayfield for seeing that, taking advantage of it, and getting that W. It was really exciting to watch. It was very exciting to see all the Raiders fans on my TL cry. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it's and the thing about that too is I really like Baker Mayfield. It's like an on-field kind of leader type dude. He is really good at hyping people up and
he's electric.
Yeah, he's got that electric factor with him. I still feel like he has a little bit of an ego, but to play quarterback, you do have to have an ego, somewhat.
Just keep it on the field.
Yeah, just keep it on the field. So when I saw the locker room thing of him like going and everybody, super happy for him and crazy and everything, I can see that. But we'll talk about Matt Stafford a little bit later. I got another thing on Matt Stafford we'll talk about. But we got to get into the next segment. This was around the NFL. Week 14 power rankings. So I call it power rankings, but they're me and Justus, we have a top 5 teams. So power ranking top 5. And power ranking the top 5 quarterbacks, right? So I don't know how you want to start this. Maybe you go first on teams, and then I'll go first on quarterbacks. Justus, why don't you give us who's the top 5 teams in the NFL at this current moment?
All right, so number 5, I got the Dallas Cowboys. What? Okay. No, I'm just playing. I don't even like saying that right now.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm good on him. Dallas Cowboys, I have them at number 5. I feel like the defense, Micah Parsons is a nut. He's a nut.
Oh, he's a dog.
He's different. It's just,
yeah.
You hear about it, but when you watch it, it's different. It's like every play this kid is just ridiculous. So Micah Parsons, he's a dog. I thought Dak Prescott was going to be a superstar. I did. I thought he was going to be a top 3-ish quarterback. I thought he was going to be top 5, no doubt, and we'd be arguing that he's top 3. And I don't even know if he's top 10 anymore, but at least he's in that fringe 10 position, if anywhere. And they do just enough to win. People want to kind of shoot them up in the rankings because they blew out the Colts, but if you remember correctly, they went into the fourth quarter 19-21. So it wasn't like it was a blowout, really. It was certainly a blowout, but they didn't dominate the entire game. They caught a hot streak and the Colts quit, and they just kept putting their foot on the gas, and it worked out in their favor. So I'm not going to be too high on them, but I do have them at number 5 and number 4. I have K-Man's favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson is him. Stephon Diggs is him, but Justin Jefferson is him.
He's him Jr.
He's him too. Yeah, exactly.
Him Jr.
I just the same way I feel about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, where I say Jamar Chase is 60% of Joe Burrow's talent. Justin Jefferson is 82% of Kirk Cousins' talent. And it's like, he just drops back and he was like, where was 18 supposed to be on this play? Let me just throw it in that general vicinity. Yeah. And it's going to get caught. And more times than not, he's right. So kudos to him for knowing that and, putting his money where his mouth is. Dalvin Cook is still special. And the Vikings are playing really well. I don't think they'll be here come season's end, but at this very point, they have earned it. They even beat us, so I can't say anything. Number 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, I understand that Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. There's no denying he's great. However, this whole mystic, just they're them, they're it is not. I don't understand where that comes from. They're like 2-3 years removed from winning the Super Bowl. This guy's
they're supposed to be a dynasty.
3 years removed from winning MVP. Exactly. They were supposed to be a dynasty. It never happened. Granted, they go to the AFC Championship game every year. They came out of it 2 times. Yeah. So let's cut back. And if you look at their schedule, the Chiefs, it's like this foregone conclusion that the Chiefs are going to win out, right? They beat the Chargers by 3 points.
Oh yeah,
they lost to the Colts. They beat the Raiders, the super bummy Raiders, by 1 point, and shouldn't have won that game. Excuse me. They beat the Titans by 3 points. They beat the Jaguars by 10 points. They beat the Chargers again by 3 points. And they lost to the Chiefs. I'm sorry, they lost to the Bengals. So they do play the Broncos twice. fair. They might wax the floor with them, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But then again, you never know. They also have Geno coming into town. Geno's no slouch anymore, all right? And then they have those Raiders again, who gave them a tough time in the first game. You know, maybe they'll have nothing to play for and they'll want to play spoiler or something, and they'll beat the Chiefs. I can see it happen. I can see them losing 2 games.
Yeah.
I can see them losing 1 of 2 games, let me say. So I don't know. I don't know where this whole mystic, they're the top team. They just lost. That's why they're not the top team anymore. So yeah. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to get over a cold. Emergency really works. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they've earned it. They out there looking special. The only reason I have them at number 2 is because when I look at the conferences, I see teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. They're 11-1. The Dallas Cowboys are 9-3. You know, the Minnesota Vikings are 10-2. The San Francisco 49ers are 8-4, right? But then I look at the AFC and I go to Bills 9-3, Chiefs 9-3, the Dolphins 8-4, the Bengals 8-4. I just feel like those teams are better, even though they got worse records. I feel like if it was a slug match, a lot of the AFC teams would win. So I'll put the Eagles at number 2, and obviously the Bills at number 1. I just feel like the Bills are the most dynamic team. They have the most dynamic quarterback, and they can beat anyone in the league. They can blow out anyone in the league, and that's why I have them at number 1. I don't think any other team in the NFL can blow out anybody in the league.
Okay. I don't disagree with your power rankings because we only have one team in the same spot. But I like your reasoning. I do not have the Vikings in my top 5 just because I can't see them go toe to toe with the Bills, escape on a whim. Like Mike White takes them to the distance. Like it's just they're winning these games by just absolute like sheer luck. And I know it takes, like, if luck could be calculated in the NFL this year, the Vikings would be the absolute leader of that. I know somebody on Twitter tried to make like a luck metric, and I thought it was pretty funny when they did it. The Bills did also have some good. No, we had the worst luck actually in the league, which makes sense. But my number 5 team is the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm going to tell you why. I understand where you come from when you say that, you know, oh, well, Burrow isn't the difference maker without Chase is like 80% of his talent, stuff like that. This Bengals defense is there. They're getting hot at the right time. They just beat the Chiefs, who, you know, a lot of people argue it doesn't matter. They're even if they're not really, if we don't view them as the top in the class of the AFC, most of the people in the rest of the country who know the Chiefs still view them as class of the AFC. So the Bengals go in, they take care of business against the Chiefs. I couldn't put them any higher than 5. But the only reason they're 5 is
the class of the AFC, for being technical.
Yeah, I think they are. And again, they're doing that thing where teams, they get right at the tail end of the season here. And I think that I don't even think that it's going to be, I think the Bengals are going to be a force in the playoffs. I don't think that's a question. And I just think that number 5 kind of suits them. They could drop off here and there. There's a couple of other teams that I think could be pushing, like Miami's kind of sitting there right behind them too. But I still kind of feel that if the Bengals played Miami right now, Miami's defense is not as good as the Bengals defense, which is weird to say, but it's just dropped off this year. And the Bengals, I think, are the better team. And I think they win if they were to go right now at each other. Number 4, I have the Dallas Cowboys. So you had them at 5. I have them at 4.
5.
Yeah. So I think that the Cowboys, they are the class of the NFC right now. And I hate that I have to say that because I hate the Dallas Cowboys. But they have a 1-2 running attack. They've got premier wide receivers who they don't even really need to use because they have Tony Pollard and Zeke. And then you have that defense, which is just absolutely killer. And when you got Micah Parsons on the side, that dude, I can already tell right now if he keeps at this pace, he's going to be a Hall of Famer the way he plays. Like he's just it stands out on the film when you watch it. When you watch it, you see Micah Parsons flying around the field and just how much of a game wrecker he is. And that defense just looks like a Super Bowl defense. It really does. I look at that and I go, wow, that team is going to be a tough out no matter who has to play them. And the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken, also blew the Vikings out terribly, or maybe that was the Eagles. Or maybe it was the Eagles and Cowboys. I don't remember. Might be both. Let's see. I'm just gonna look that up real quick because I want to know if I'm right or not, or if I'm spewing nonsense here. I thought for sure they played the Cowboys. Yeah, the Cowboys beat them 40-3. Yeah, 40-3. So the Cowboys, they're the class of the NFC. I think that if Cooper Rush wasn't playing quarterback when they played the Giants, they would have boat raced the Giants. And I don't even think Dak Prescott is that much of a game changer, but the way he runs that offense, he is a really decent game manager, and they pay him like he's a franchise guy, but he's a really decent game manager, and they're winning games because of it. Number 3, I agree with you. I've got the Chiefs here. Again, I think that when you look at the team ahead of them, which is the Bills at number 2, just letting you know. The Bills, they beat them. And I think that really the Chiefs, they haven't really had games that make you go, wow, this is that same Chiefs team that can be capable of, like you said, blowing people out. They're not that team right now. They're squeaking out wins, and, they're losing games to, teams that are better than them. Hence the Bengals, which I would love to put the Bengals over the Chiefs, but I just don't know if I have that amount of confidence in them just yet. But I think that right now the Chiefs are, really being propped up by Travis Kelce and sometimes Isaiah Pacheco and Pat Mahomes. If he has an off day, there's nobody there. They don't have that ability, which this is the Tyreek Hill effect. They're still good, but they do not have that ability to, when they are down, to just hurl one up there and Tyreek's going to save the day. He doesn't have that anymore. The Chiefs have to be more methodical, and sometimes it has resulted in them not scoring as much as they usually do. Number 2, I have the Bills, because I think the Bills are a really, really good team. But injuries are absolutely plaguing us. I mean, we know this. This team, they've lost games they're really, really close. They lose games to the Vikings, which, again, shouldn't have lost that game, but they do. They lose to the Jets against Zach Wilson. I mean, if the Patriots are blowing out Zach Wilson twice, there's no reason why the Bills shouldn't have done it. They're just a team that really goes up and down, and they're not consistent. The consistency isn't there with this team, where they are consistently being that team that we saw at the beginning of the season. They have their lulls, whether that's because Josh Allen's hurt. Again, I just don't use that as an excuse. He's ramping his way back up. And I think that eventually they are going to be that number 1 team. But of course, that number 1 team to me is the Eagles. I mean, they are embarrassing people. Again, like I said with the Cowboys, they have a Super Bowl defense, and that's not even a question. They get back Jordan Davis. What happens? They absolutely stifle Derrick Henry, and that run defense is all the way back. They've just got dudes all over the defensive line. Their secondary is great. Jalen Hurts is absolutely balling out. I think he kind of has the same effect that Tua has, where he has 2 really good receivers. He's got Devontae Smith on one side, and he's got A.J. Brown on the other one. I mean, he's absolutely benefiting from it, and that defense is just absolutely killer. And I still think that, I know, like you said, they really haven't played some really, really good teams. You think that people in the AFC are better. I still think that the Eagles have the capability, like you said about the Bills, of just absolutely blowing people out. And I think that they're the best team at it right now. So I think they're number 1 as of right now. But I think the Bills, they're kind of like right there. with them, but we really won't know unless we see those two teams play in the Super Bowl.
So the only reason I agree with everything you said. Only reason I put the Bills ahead of the Eagles is because I feel like if the Bills and Eagles played today, the Bills would win. And I just, this is going to sound bad, but I think the Bills get bored sometimes, right? You know, they show up for the tough games and they come out and they, you know, are focused, laser focused, and they go out and they do what they have to do to win. And then
lay
against
eggs.
the other games, they just like, all right, let's come out.
Yeah.
You know, all we got to do is show up and we'll basically win. And I think that's the mindset they come in with sometimes. And, you know, obviously it doesn't work a ton. But to your point about the injuries, that's a fact. However, I look at it and I say last year we lost our best defensive player and we were still the best team in the postseason. You know, obviously, you know, Patrick Mahomes got up one on us. All due respect, fairness to him, whatever he did, what he had to do to win the game, that's all fine and dandy. The Bills are the best team, right? We didn't even have Von Miller. So granted, yes, Von Miller makes us better, but I think we can also still do it without Von Miller, especially having Tre'Davious White back. I think the most important injury so far that we've had this year has been Micah Hyde. That has been nuts. So we're undefeated with Jordan Poyer playing, and I think that'll continue, you know, down the stretch.
All right. Well, let's get into top 5 quarterbacks. I feel like this one, you're probably going to have some problems with my list, and I would love to hear it. Because I still think that some of these guys, even though they have really good players surrounding them, they still have to make the plays. So maybe outside of number 5, which I would love to talk about because I could not for the love of Christ put Kirk Cousins there. So number 1 is Josh Allen. To me, I think Josh Allen is just kind of your all around what you want in your quarterback. I think he's got the best of what you see. And yes, Troy, thank you for saying that. Smash that like button. Smash that like button if you agree that Josh Allen is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL right now. I better see 500 likes on here, or at least 8 from what I can see. So Allen as number 1. Are we arguing that? I feel like, again, I have Mahomes as 2, but really I feel like those guys are 1A, 1B. So you can flip them either way. We're Bills fans, we think Allen's better, but if it was a Chiefs fan, they would say Mahomes is better, and I wouldn't argue.
Because
so
I mean, well, look, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid. It's not really fair. He's also had, you know, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Black. You know, Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs, and that's it. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, you can't compare it. Now, Mahomes is throwing to Juju and Marcus Valdez-Scantling this year.
And also arguably the best tight end of all time.
But yes, like arguably the best tight end of all time. And number 3, I have Jalen Hurts, dude. Like, he has stepped up this year. Now, I said that he has 2 really good receivers. He suffers from the Tua problem where he doesn't have to try super hard. But the thing about him is he's doing that while also being one of those quarterbacks that can just escape. He can beat you with his legs. He's a dynamic quarterback, and he stepped his game up from year 2 going into this year. He becomes this guy who can now make those throws downfield. I mean, it's a whole lot easier when you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. So, but right now, Jalen Hurts is playing like a guy who, you know, should be the leader for MVP, I think, just kind of with what he's been doing. He's consistent. You don't really see bad Jalen Hurts games, at least of right now. And yeah, I think that he's number 3, of course, right behind Allen and Mahomes. Number 4, I have Joe Burrow. And I know that Justice isn't going to like Joe Burrow being number 4. But I think that Joe Burrow, again, these last 3 guys are surrounded by a lot of talent, right? But I still think you have to make the plays. Like, even if you're a terrible quarterback and you have really good players around you, you still have to have the wherewithal and the talent to make some of the throws. And just the awareness that Joe Burrow has is absolutely insane. I mean, you cannot, that man is in the pocket until the very last second. Like he is so stoic to step up. When you see Joe Burrow standing in the pocket and he just does that one step up before he's about to throw it, you know he's probably about to just let it rip to somebody down the field. He does that. I love the way he carries himself. He's a leader among those guys. I don't really care much for the way he dresses and the swag and all that stuff. I don't care about that. I don't think that matters when it comes to a quarterback. I think it's what does he do on the field? Right now, he's leading his team, and they are just, again, doing all the right things at the right times, at the right point in the season. And now that his team's healthy, I mean, he was leading this team, winning games with T. Higgins being his only receiving option, pretty much. Tyler Boyd really hasn't done much, which I hate seeing because I like Tyler Boyd, but he just really isn't the same Tyler Boyd that was the number one guy when Andy Dalton was there. Obviously, he's a little bit long in the tooth. And now they get Jamar Chase back. And what do? Well, they go and beat the Chiefs. So I think that, Burrow is just I think he's one of those top guys in the AFC. I think when you talk about the top 5 guys in the AFC, you got to talk about Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, just because Tom Brady was never the most flashy and spectacular quarterback, but his IQ for the game and just his ability to make plays made him a really good quarterback. And I think that's what Burrow is. I think he's not the most athletic guy or whatever, but he's still a quarterback that is a game changer and can win these games. So I like Burrow at 4. Number 5, I have Tua. Tua's just been putting up stats this year. I remember at the beginning of the year, we were over under, and then it was Tua 3,000 passing yards, and we were laughing our ass off at it. Yeah, I'm not laughing much anymore. Tua, just the benefit. We thought that Tyreek Hill was going to help him in his development. I didn't think it was going to help him this much, but when he's just throwing to these dudes where basically they're coming off the line on a slant route, and all he has to do is just throw it right there, and those dudes are going to just absolutely kill, right in a gap he sees in the defense, boom, that guy's going to take it 75 yards for a touchdown. He's not having to put as much effort in now. I think we're seeing the cracks. We've seen it the last couple of weeks. We saw it this week, definitely. You get pressure to him. He's not a guy who can handle pressure very well, where I think Burrow does handle pressure very well because that offensive line has always been garbage. So he's kind of had to learn to adapt to that. Tua, I just don't think has, which is weird because he's had a garbage offensive line his entire career. But I just don't think he still is a quarterback that has that kind of awareness that he needs to truly be. And he doesn't have the athleticism to at least escape the pocket. At least Burrow, you can say, can still roll out. He's not the fastest guy, but he can still escape the pocket. Tua, I just think really he benefits a whole lot more than I think Burrow and Hurts do from the guys that they have. I think he's a lot more reliant on those guys. And I think if you put Hurts and Burrow in his position, they're probably absolutely killing it, just like he is. Hell, you can put Geno Smith in that offense, and I mean Geno Smith's balling. You put Brock Purdy in that offense, he's probably going to do just fine. I think that you could put a lot of quarterbacks back there, and they're going to do just fine. But I think Tua, he still has to put up the numbers, still has to make some of those plays. So I've got him at number 5, even though I don't really feel the best about him being there.
Fair. That's a good list. I don't disagree with anything on that list. Excuse me.
You don't disagree with anybody? What?
No. It's funny.
I love it.
Okay. All right. So number 1, obviously, I got Josh Allen. I just think he's the most dynamic quarterback in the NFL. Arm strength, size, speed, strength, overall IQ, his Superman ability. That 7-8 years in is going to be maybe the best we've ever seen, especially when he knows what he's doing and, knows the ins and outs of the league and, he's seen everything. It's going to be special to watch. Number 2, or 1B, if you will, Patrick Mahomes. obviously a Martian, just like Josh. Special in every sense of the word. Can do any and everything. The only reason he is even under Josh is just because he is not. Josh is just bigger, faster, stronger. It's literally the only reason. Number 3, Jalen Hurts.
All right.
Balling. He's balling out of control right now. He is absolutely worth the price of admission. Him and AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, the defense that they have over there, the Eagles have done it right. They put the necessary weapons around Jalen Hurts for him to be successful, and I'm really, really happy. I'm glad to see that he is being successful because they really wrote him off, after his first couple of years, and they thought he was just going to be a bust and all these other things. And for him to come out and to perform so well, I'm extremely happy for him. And Nick Sirianni. Oh no, that's not Nick Sirianni. He's the Vikings coach, right?
No, it's Nick Sirianni.
He's the Eagles coach?
Yeah.
You're the guy. Number 4. I got Joe Burrow.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Jamar Chase is 60% of his talent, but Jamar Chase is healthy and he's on the football field right now. So, if you can look and throw it to number 1 and number 1 catches it, then you get the completion, you get the yards, and you get the touchdown. So, he's doing everything he needs to do. He's, throwing it in the general vicinity of number 1, and he's coming down with it. So he deserves to be, his recognition for that. 5A, I have Geno Smith, who is
okay.
Right now.
Okay, all right.
Listen, if we're gonna give credit to guys like Joe Burrow, and you know what I mean, and Jalen Hurts, to be fair, for the talent they have around him, Geno Smith does not have a ton of talent around him, and he is doing everything he can with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
yes.
Tyler
Lockett, DK Metcalf. He's got Kenneth Walker the third in the back, who's one of the leading rushers in the league.
Would you rather have his weaponry or Jalen Hurts?
I'd much rather have Jalen Hurts. I was trying to think of the running back, but
his weaponry or Joe Burrow's?
I would much rather have Joe Burrow's because
would you rather have his weaponry or Tua Tagovailoa's?
Tua, just because that speed is killer out on the outside.
So that's why I say what I say about Geno. 72.7 completion percentage for Geno Smith. Come on, I gotta give him some love.
Crazy.
And he's doing it with talent that is less than these other quarterbacks on this list. So
it's still really good talent though, but it's less than.
So at 5B, I have Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay, Tua.
Our list is just absolutely wild today. Hey man,
this list would not have. Hold on, before we week 1, I could not have imagined if we made these lists, we would have Tua, Geno Smith, and Burrow all on this list. We would have had Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
Show these lists to our September selves. What
they
they
would
get
have been
this
like,
from in front
you
of
guys
me?
are high. What is this?
Right, like yeah. So Tua Tagovailoa, man. Give credit where it's due. You got those weapons on the field, so throw it to him, and he does, and he does it well. I've seen him make some throws where I'm like, oh wow, I mean? He can make some of those throws. So again, give credit where it's due. So I got him at 5B, and that's my top 5. 4 guys on this list: Geno, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts. None of those guys I would have thought I would have on this list, 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, I don't. I guess the only one I had some kind of reservations with was Geno. I'd probably put Kirk Cousins over Geno, just because if you were going to go off of what does he have, I think it's pretty comparable, the weapons that are around them. Adam Thielen hasn't been anything like this
Justin
year.
Jefferson is worth DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
You think so? I don't know, man. DK
and Dalvin Cook is better than Kenneth Walker. Yeah, but he
I don't
ain't
think
Justin
the stats
Jefferson.
say so. I don't think the stats say that Dalvin Cook's better than.
I don't think the talent. I think he's a better back personally.
I definitely think so, but I think Kenneth Walker, give him a couple of years and he'll kind of, he's going to be one. Kenneth Walker, I'm going to burst everybody's bubble too, and this shouldn't surprise anybody. He's going to be a guy who balls out on his rookie contract and then doesn't get paid. Like that's he's one of those running backs. He's not going to be Dalvin Cook and get paid.
Josh Jacobs should be up there, but the Raiders are so stupid they declined his 5th year and then lost a year of leverage. So
exactly, dude. And when you have a running back run for 300 yards in a game, I think
his 5th year. You had Josh Jacobs. No matter how bad he finished the season, why would you not pick up his 5th year? That's so stupid. Just like the Raiders.
We all knew something was up with that when they were playing him in the preseason. We're like, what are you doing? The first game of the preseason, you've got Josh Jacobs starting. What the hell is going on there? But those were our top 5, Justus. But you know what that brings us into? And I haven't got to play this music in a little bit, but we're gonna throw it in there. We're back.
Reminds me of Madden.
Yeah, we're back with some NFL music. This is What's More Likely. So let's throw that up there. I'll get like little video graphics eventually for these things, but right now production value is just a little bit lower, but still higher than most shows that you can watch.
We're doing all this for free, guys. So
So we got What's More Likely here. I got to figure out what order I want to give these to. We got 4. So let's start off with this. What's more likely? You can't see it. There you go. Dolphins fade out of playoffs or the Patriots rally back?
First of all, I just want to say that comic book title is absolutely phenomenal. So shout out to producer Jake.
Producer Jake.
What is more likely, Dolphins fade out or Patriots rally back? What's more likely?
Yeah,
is I think the Patriots rally back is more likely.
I think so too, just because I really don't think that the Dolphins are going to fade out. I think the Patriots could rally back. I think they do. They seem to be kind of figuring themselves out a little bit. I mean, yeah, they kind of get smacked around by us on Thursday Night Football, but that's the Bills. Like
that's every year. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I still think that, they beat the Jets twice. I think they don't really have the hardest of schedules. No chance in hell the Patriots doing anything. I just think that the Patriots are still one of those teams that I feel like could sneak in towards the end. They're still in the hunt, sitting down there, and
with the Raiders being absolute garbage, and being
that was good for the Patriots.
Trash, that was great for the Patriots. You got the Dolphins playing the Chargers this week, so if the Dolphins are who we think they are, they should beat the Chargers, and that should help the Patriots as well.
Yeah, so I think the Patriots rallying back probably is more likely. And now I have to put on different music because I forgot to put the loops on. So there we go. We got loops now. So next one, I love this one so much. What's more likely? Jets win a playoff game or the Vikings lose in the first round?
What's more likely?
What's more likely?
Is the Vikings losing in the first round. The Jets aren't.
But look at that picture, man. That man's not going to win a playoff game?
Kirk Cousins is going to throw 7 interceptions, and Justin Jefferson is going to be calling for a new quarterback. Yeah, I don't believe in the Vikings in the playoffs at all. At all. So
if you think of who they're going to draw, right? If they draw the Cowboys, they got blown out by them. If they play the 49ers, they're going to get blown out by the 49ers. It's just I don't see any team that they could really beat in that first round. Maybe
Eagles
maybe
beat
the
them,
Bucks?
Vikings beat them, Niners beat them, Cowboys beat them, Giants beat them, Seahawks beat. Oh wait, what team are we talking about?
The Vikings.
Vikings. Okay, Eagles beat them. 49ers beat them. Cowboys beat them.
Do the Bucks beat them? I don't know.
You know what?
I would still pick.
Yes.
I'm
taking Tom Brady over Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I'm taking Tom Brady over Kirk Cousins.
100%. But speaking of Tom Brady, we'll get to him in a minute, actually. What's more likely? And I love this one. The 49ers win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, or the Jets win a Super Bowl with Mike White?
Well, that's easy. That's Mike Purdy. Only because Kyle Shanahan is an absolute genius. Like, and not only that, but the defense is extraordinary. I mean, you got an offensive super mastermind with a defense that is playing like the best in the NFL. The quarterback almost becomes like a non-issue to a degree, because we've seen Trent Dilfer win Super Bowls. We've seen Eli Manning win Super Bowls. You know what I mean? So it's not unreasonable to think that that Purdy could be playing for a Super Bowl this year.
I think Purdy has an easier road, possibly, than the Jets would have if they made the playoffs. Just because if you look at both these teams, right, they're built very, very similarly. Both really good defenses, both with subpar, really quarterbacks that are just going to be game managers. Really, they got a run game. I would honestly argue that their weapons are kind of comparable. I mean, the Jets are loaded at wide receiver. Like, it's just like, I feel like the Jets would have a harder road to get to the Super Bowl than the Niners would. So I think, I would agree with you that I think it is more likely that Purdy wins a Super Bowl with the 49ers than the Jets do with Mike White. But we brought up Tom Brady earlier, and this, I think, is going to spark a little bit of a conversation. Some reports from The Athletic came out about like a week or so ago. What's more likely, Matt Stafford retires or Tom Brady returns to New England?
I don't really see why Matt Stafford was retired.
So Matt Stafford, this is why I thought this was going to spark, and when we were talking about Baker Mayfield. So we're going to have kind of what do you think? The Athletic says that a Tom Brady returning to New England reunion is not off of the table, and that the Patriots would have a ton of money next year to be able to rebuild and put a team around Brady, and he can come back to the place that, loves him the most, and he would have Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And then Matt Stafford, I mean, I only put this here because Matt Stafford, his injury is listed as a spinal cord contusion. Whenever I hear the spinal cord is involved, that is a serious thing. And when your team goes and gets Baker Mayfield, just whenever I see Matt Stafford, he won a Super Bowl. He's got stats. He's like the passing leader of the Lions all time. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? No, but they put in the Hall. It's like the Hall of Good. So, like, sometimes they'll put it in. He's got a Super Bowl.
He's in the Hall of Real Good.
Yeah. So I think that Matt Stafford could hang it up. I mean, this year he just got obliterated with injuries. So after hearing all of that, what do you think's more likely? Matt Stafford retires or Brady goes back to New England?
I'm going to say that it's going to be Brady going back to New England, only because I keep hearing about how Brady's trying to get out of Tampa. He tried to work his way into
Miami.
He got mad because the 49ers chose Jimmy Garoppolo over him.
Yeah.
Like, we've heard ties to the Raiders. Like, it's according to reports, he's trying to get out of Tampa. So is it far-fetched? At that point, like, did we think he was going to Tampa when we knew he wasn't going back to New England? No. So you
I thought he
never
was going
know
to the
what can
49ers
happen in a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Exactly. So you never know what can happen when that time comes.
Yeah. I actually do think Matt Stafford retiring is probably a little bit more likely, because now when I look at kind of the situation going on with the 49ers, do you think that they wish they had Tom Brady right now? Probably. I think that
Yeah.
at this point in time, just seeing where things gone, I think that the 49ers could still be in play for Tom Brady after this year. So I don't think
But that's tough because if they had Tom Brady, they would have never started Trey Lance. And I think they really did want to start Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think they did too. So I don't know. I think that Brady going back to New England seems a little bit more far-fetched. We heard about all the drama there was between him and Bill and all that stuff. I just can't see him wanting to go back. I just don't. Even if they have a ton of money, it's just I could see him go somewhere else.
If you break up with your wife and your fiance or whatever the case may be, you go date somebody who maybe don't look as good, don't make you feel as good, and ain't giving you what your wife used to give you. Sometimes you'd be looking at your wife and you'd be like, "Hey, yo, what's up with you, son?" You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just saying, all it takes is a conversation between two grown men who have worked together for 2 decades, who have won multiple championships together. One dinner could say, "All right, come back home." You know what I mean? So,
well, yeah. Now Bill Belichick knows what life without Tom Brady is. If he could have that back, I'm sure he'd probably be a lot more open to letting Brady do the things that he wanted to do when he was there that caused all the issues. So that was what's more likely. I think that, and I guess I'll ask the question: do you want Tom Brady to come back to the division? Because I do. I do. I want it so bad.
We deserve the right. We deserve the opportunity to give him the ass kicking he deserves.
He dipped right before he could get it. And
he knew it. He saw it coming.
That last year he was there too. Our defense was terrorizing him in those games. Yep. And he dipped. He knew exactly what was coming. And then as soon as he left, Josh Allen became the stud. So it's just kind of like what could have been. I don't think Belichick wants anything to do with Brady, says Spin. I don't think so either. I think Belichick really comes off like a dude who's like really prideful. It's like a really big ego and would rather just be like, no, I can win it with Mac more than I probably go with Tom, which we all know is no. If Tom Brady came back and Josh McDaniels gets fired after 1 year with the Raiders, like, if I'll say this, if Josh McDaniels gets fired after this year by the Raiders, Tom Brady goes back to New England.
He should be fired today. So
I know. It was because I just think with that McDaniels offense, which was proven to work in New England, you bring back Tom Brady, who knows how to run it. He ran it for 20 years. You bring in tight ends like Hunter Henry, who Tom Brady would love to be throwing to a tight end like Hunter Henry. You got decent guys on the outside. Look, Tom Brady made dudes that were terrible on the outside look amazing his whole life with that system. So I do think that if that happens, that's more likely. But I actually think that it's more likely that Matt Stafford retires just because of that. That's some serious stuff, man. And again, I think Spin brought something up. Yeah, his wife not happy with the concussions. His wife really is a big part of his life, whereas Tom Brady no longer is. So I think that Stafford will probably want to stay in his relationship and will listen to his wife, whereas Tom Brady doesn't. So anyway, I was not expecting to say that. We're going to go into the pick'em games. So, of course, last week, if you guys were tuned into the show, we picked 3 games. And me and Justus picked them. And then, so we have 2 games where we pick the spread. And then the last game is the over-under. Usually me and Justus will disagree on that one if we want to. But maybe we'll disagree on some of these games. I picked 3 games for us to go for, Justus. So we'll start off with the first one. We had to get rid of the whole format of us going through every single game because that was just way too many numbers that I had to crunch every single week to put those giant scores up. So now we're just doing the pick 3 and whoever last week I went 3 for 3. So that was when Justus went 2-1. So that gives me 1 point. So it's 1-0. This week, first game on the docket, Justice, for the spread, Vikings versus Lions. The Lions are favored by 2, which means that Vegas by 2 literally means that they have no idea what's going to happen in this game.
I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I mean, yo, the Lions ain't no slouches, bro. Like, I understand they ain't got the best
40
record.
on the Jets last week.
I know they coach is a little unorthodox. I know Jared Goff ain't what we all thought he was going to be his number 1 pick. Listen, the Lions ain't no joke, dog. They took us to the wire on Thanksgiving. They've blown out multiple people this year,
which I did predict at the beginning of the season.
Super.
The Lions taking us to the wire when we went over. If you go back and listen to the first round bye episode where we broke down the entire schedule, I said, don't be surprised that this Lions game is close. And Justice did not agree with me at that point.
You know, if you asked me after the game, I wouldn't agree with you. There was no reason we should have. But they did, which speaks to, and I don't even think it speaks to like how bad we were playing, because we weren't necessarily playing bad. We were just like, why are the Lions giving us the business right now? And I just think the Lions is pretty damn good. You talk about, in the red zone, they've scored on like 18 straight trips or something crazy.
Yeah,
like
they're like the best red zone offense.
The running backs is absolutely nuts. The Lions are not a bad team. Mm-hmm. They might not be a good team or a great team, but they're not a bad team. That's for sure. And so they're real scrappy. The Lions are the best bad team, and the Vikings might be the worst good team.
So that makes them pretty much even, and that's why Vegas has no idea what to do.
Yeah. Who's home?
I will check that out for you real quick. Vikings. Oh, I already have the Vikings. They're at Detroit.
That's why they're favorites.
Yeah, that's why that's the only reason they're favored.
That means the Vikings are technically favored, but because home team gets 3 points.
Yeah,
Vikings are technically favored.
I can tell you what happened the last time these two teams played, if you'd like to know. Last time they played, the Vikings. What's up?
They are in the same division, so they
So the last time they played, the Vikings won 28-24. So that doesn't give a lot of info, but that was back in mid-September. So
it gives a lot of info, but it doesn't help me pick a winner. I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm just gonna think that this team isn't going to just drop the ball, even though I can 100% see them dropping the ball.
Yeah.
Damn.
So who'd you pick? Just so I can
I'm going with the Vikings.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with the Lions. So that Lions team, they didn't steer me wrong last week. I picked the over of them versus the Jaguars.
They gave you the over.
Yeah. So I'm going to stick with the Lions. I think they really, really want to beat this Vikings team. I think that like at home, like this Lions defense, dude, we know that they're not. If you have DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams, start them this week in fantasy, because that Vikings defensive line, they're going to be running all over it. And this might have to be a game where Justin Jefferson takes over. So the last time they played, the Lions had Hawkinson. They don't anymore. Now the Vikings have Hawkinson. So maybe it's a Hawkinson revenge game. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to take the Lions here. I don't feel super confident about it, but I do like the Lions.
If it helps you feel any better, I don't feel super confident about the Vikings.
Yeah. Just like Vegas doesn't feel super confident about it.
Yeah.
So next game, Bucks versus 49ers. The 49ers are favored by 3.5.
Yeah, give me the Niners.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got 1 week of film study on Brock Purdy. Does that change anything? I don't think so. I think the Bucks.
Not for me.
They do not.
Kyle Shanahan is the coach.
Yeah. But this feels like such a game that Tom Brady will find a way to pull out, doesn't it? Like, it gives off that vibe to me where I'm like, it feels too easy to pick San Fran.
Yeah. I mean,
Doesn't it? I mean,
listen,
it just
I
feels too
don't see
easy.
anything against that San Fran defense. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like that defense gonna terrorize him.
All right. Well, I'll agree with you. I'll take San Fran here. We've already got a difference, so it doesn't really matter. I'll take the safe bet there with San Fran, but wouldn't be surprised if Tom Brady decides that he wants to come out and dump all over the 49ers because they didn't want him a couple of years ago, and now I bet they wish they had him. Dolphins versus Chargers. This is the over-under game. The over-under is at 52.5 points. So,
I'm going over.
I was going to take the over too. I think this is an over game. But then again, something just tells me that this feels like a Justin Herbert shitting the bed game, doesn't it?
I could see
this
that.
Feels like
well.
we need the Chargers. We need the Chargers to win this game to beat the Dolphins. Well, we don't really need them to, but like it would be nice if the Dolphins dropped this game too to just make them ever closer.
I could see this game being 10. I can see this game being 10-13 with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I really could.
It could be, dude. The Chargers, I'm not sure. Is their defensive line still healthy? Because if they do, where they have they got Khalil Mack, and if anybody in the comments section knows if they've got Bosa and Mack still, again, I think the Dolphins are going to be without Teron Armstead, and they're going to have, I think they just brought back an offensive tackle. Let's see. Chargers should win easily, but Chargers' whole franchise for the past century has been going by the mantra of what the fuck are we doing? So, yeah, this just feels like a game that the Chargers will drop, but I'll take the over too. So me and Justus disagree with the Vikings-Lions, which means that's, well, I'm actually not going to be able to watch that game because I'll be in Buffalo this weekend. Maybe I'll pull it up on my phone in the stadium, even though I get terrible service in the stadium. I think like everybody does. So, yeah, I will be taking so our only difference is Vikings-Lions. There we go. Then we got a couple more things that we'll close out the show with here. Last week, we brought you the news that the Bills had put Von Miller on IR for 4 weeks, and he was going to be gone. And now it turns out that the Bills have lost Von Miller for the rest of the season after it was discovered that he actually did have a torn ACL and it did not show up on the MRIs. So now I would assume, projected starting defensive ends are Gregory Rousseau, and it should be Shaq Lawson. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But I think those should be your starting defensive ends. And while that really feels like defensive ends that would be good against stopping the run, I just don't really feel like they're defensive ends that are going to put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. So we're going to have to be relying on the interior a lot more. So what do you think about this, Justus? First of all, I was pissed off when I saw this news. Just because we had kind of already gone through all the feelings of, okay, he's going to be gone for 4. We had that expectation. And then when you go in and they're like, well, actually, no, he's gone for the season. It's just like, I thought we had one of the best training staffs in the league. How do you miss that? How do you miss a torn ACL? So I think this is a big hit, man. How are you feeling about it?
It is a big hit, and I totally understand the cause for pause. I get it. Von Miller is a dominant force. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's ours. And that's a good feeling to have. But at the same time, is it going to suck not having him? 1,000,000%. Do I think that we are no longer a championship caliber team because we don't have him? Nah. I love Von Miller. He was when you get the pictures and it says happy birthday, Jake, and that's perfectly fine, right? But sometimes you can get the picture where it says happy birthday cake and then you get an edible picture inside. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He's like the edible picture where it just makes it look real nice. Oh my God, that is amazing. But you don't need the picture. You know what I mean? I think I think that Josh Allen any quarterback that goes up against him is going to have to go against Josh Allen. Not only Josh Allen, but then we also have Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, and Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, Ed Oliver. Like, we have plenty of pieces that can get the job done. It's just about if they're up to the challenge.
Yeah, I think so too. I hate that every single time something big like this happens. Like the same thing happened last year when Trey White tore his ACL. Oh, the season's over. We stink. We're no longer a championship contender, and we end up playing one of the best games in NFL history. We're on the wrong side of it, of course, and we're going into this season. And I think that we're still that team. I think we're still that team that at the end of the year, people will not want to play us. Von Miller was just really, really nice to have because we needed that closer. Hopefully somebody steps up. I think that that's what this is going to have to be, is maybe we get a guy like AJ Epinesa who we've been waiting to step up. Maybe he steps up. Maybe Boogie Basham finally gets some more playing time and he steps up. Or maybe Shaq Lawson comes and really looks like that guy that the Bills drafted in the first round so many years ago.
Maybe Greg Rousseau looks like a superstar.
Yeah, maybe Greg Rousseau comes out and we get a team effort from both sides of the defensive line. And maybe that increases the interior trying to step up their game. And Ed Oliver starts to, go crazy a little bit. So I don't think the Bills are out. I hate when people overreact like that. This is still a really damn good football team. But yeah, it just stinks that we lose Von Miller, man. But someone close to Von Miller, Bills hosted OBJ. We know this. He met with Josh Allen. We talked about OBJ earlier, kind of the 3 visits. So we'll go over this briefly. The big thing that I really wanted to go out with was that the difference in story between the Cowboys and the Bills, and how the Cowboys said that they weren't comfortable with it. Then the Rams, some story came out with Albert Breer saying that if the Rams had seen his physical, they thought that his knee was going to explode and they would have never signed him. And then you hear that, that was last year before their Super Bowl run. They said they would have never signed him, which
a halftime Super Bowl MVP OBJ, they would have never signed him.
I didn't. I took that with a grain of salt when I heard it. But then you had Sean McDermott come out on the Rich Eisen show and say, no, we don't think that we needed him to work out. We feel very confident with our doctors, and we'll kind of see what happens from here. It's kind of his decision, balls on his court. So you hear all this stuff, and then you see the professionalism coming out of the Bills, and kind of, it really just seems like we saw 2 teams that felt very, we would have won a Super Bowl. Yeah, I think so. I 100% think so, Spin. I don't think Tyreek Hill makes some of those catches that he makes in that divisional game if Trey White's still out there on the field. But I think that you saw what happened when 2 teams who were in the sweepstakes got told no. They put out dirt on OBJ, trying to maybe sway some other teams away. Whereas the Bills, I feel like we're always the front runner, and they probably had the best meeting with him, and they didn't have to do some courting of sending him to an NBA game and make it all flashy or anything like that. You didn't really hear anything except for you saw the dinner menu for the little dinner they had for him. Outside of that, you didn't hear anything else come out of that.
That's the thing about OBJ, is he's a different kind of player. So like regular player, a regular good player, like a Khalil Mack or something.
Yeah.
He might be like in shock and awe, not in shock and awe, but like he might be thrilled by the pop and circumstance of the whole Mavericks game and the this and the that and the Luka Doncic and the Mark Cuban and the whatever. A guy like OBJ is a superstar. Yeah. Not even in the sense of just talent. I mean, like in the sense of, his name, his initials, and who you're talking about. Like
we don't even say his full name.
Exactly. So like, I don't know if that stuff is working on him. Like he can do that whenever he wants. He hangs out. He lived with Drake for like a couple months. Like this is a different level.
He was the man in New York City. He was in LA last year. I mean, the dude, he lives in Arizona, right? He doesn't live in any of the big cities. His main home is in Arizona. And when he came to Buffalo, he was like, oh, you guys are so close to Toronto because he likes Drake and he lived with Drake and he likes Toronto.
Yo,
so
we could get Drake in some Bills game, boy.
oh, please no, bro. Let him
Nah.
stay up there.
Yeah, you
know
say
he's
that.
a bandwagon, bro. You know.
Yeah, but I'm saying the stadium would be live if Drake goes to. I mean, at least we get some national attention.
Can we get like a Drake like halftime show or something? Like,
hell yeah,
let's get him in.
Game.
Oh my god, I'd be there in a heartbeat. But yeah, I think you were right. He didn't need everything that the Cowboys did. The Giants visit was pretty quiet too. So that I believe probably because that staff is cut from the same cloth. It was probably just kind of a come in, talk about things and everything, hang out with some people. I think that's what it was for the Bills, but the Bills are just on a completely different level. And I think that OBJ will kind of see what happens around playoff time. I don't think the Bills really needed him. Like at this point, we don't need OBJ. That's kind of like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Gabe Davis isn't it. We need OBJ right now. I don't think so. You want OBJ and you're trying to make a reason for why we need him when really we don't need him. We're perfectly fine as an offense. We're getting our groove. We're starting to implement the running backs more. Like we don't really need him at this moment. He's just an icing on the cake kind of thing. Kind of like what Von Miller was when we signed him. We were like that number one defense last year, whatever, on paper. But
guys, we're 9-3 in the number one overall seed. We don't need anything. All right. We'll be okay.
Yeah. So that was it. Yeah, the Bills are the number one seed. You said it. Who's their main competition? We don't have to go too far into this if you don't want to. Who's that number one team who you think that when you think of the AFC, that's the team we're going to have to – if we're in the AFC Championship, who are we playing?
Yeah, until further notice, I'm going to have to say the Chiefs. As you guys all know, I don't necessarily believe in the Bengals. I think that they can do it. I mean, we've obviously seen them do it. But, as far as on a consistent basis, I'm going to have to say the Chiefs. The only two quarterbacks I truly trust in the AFC are Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. So, yeah, until further notice, until Pat Mahomes, doesn't play like a crazy superstar in the playoffs, and until Josh Allen doesn't play like the greatest playoff quarterback we've ever seen in the history of this league, I'm going to go with those two.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bengals, but I'm going to hold off saying the Bengals until I see the game against them on Monday night. I still think it's the Chiefs. I know that Joe Burrow got the best of the Chiefs last year in the playoffs. I don't think they'd be able to repeat that this year. Maybe they could.
I answered that question wrong. Spin had a great point. He says the Bengals are the only real threat the Bills should handle when he's first. No, but
true.
That's true, because if the Bills win out, then they get the first seed. The Bengals are really the only team that can, not the only team, but the Bengals are the team with the most, invested to stop them. And they're the only one with the direct opportunity to stop them. So I guess technically it'd be them, but the Chiefs are their main threat, because if they lose and the Chiefs win out, they're the number one seed. So
yeah. So I feel like these three teams are we're all kind of together and we're on the same trajectory. And at least for one of us, we have to play each other, and that could really determine who's going to be, what the path in the playoffs looks like. Does it go through Kansas City again, or does it go through Buffalo? Hopefully it's through Buffalo. But one more thing just to go. Of course, we play the Jets this week. So Justus, last time we played the Jets, Zach Wilson came in and we laid an egg and they win the game. Very embarrassing. And we lose on that. The Jets, it just felt like, again, I hate using the term where it's like, oh, it was their Super Bowl, but it really did feel like that team celebrated like so much after that, like they were the best team in the AFC. Then they get embarrassed by the Patriots. They bench their quarterback. They put Mike White in. Mike White, I believe, is 1-1 right now, right? So he's 1-1 this season. So I think that right now everybody's riding the Mike White wave. If anybody remembers what the Mike White wave looked like last year, it ended against the Bills when he threw 4 interceptions. So I think the Bills kind of know how to get after him. He's not really a dude who gets out of the pocket very often. He's a dude who will literally fall if there's any just hint of a sack around him. He's not going to be. He broke a couple of runs last week. Maybe he's kind of breaking out of that shell, but I think the Bills kind of know that, you take away his first read, kind of like what you kind of did with Tua early on in his career. That's where Mike White is. So I think the Bills are going to know what to do, and I think they're going to handle business this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, essentially you're playing a rookie quarterback almost.
Yeah.
And I think Mick Frazier is going to know what to do with that. I think the first game was a fluke. Offense really didn't do what they were supposed to do, and that put the defense in a lot of tough positions.
Mhm.
And I just don't see that this time. The offense looked like they finally, found their groove. So, they should be able to put it to work, and that should be able to play complementary football that allows them to win this game safe and soundly.
Yeah, I think so too. Our D-line made Mac Jones look like Houdini in the pocket. Yeah, that's I'm going to this game. Last game I went to was the Vikings game, and it's apparently the best game of the year, and we lose.
I left at the beginning of the fourth quarter, everybody, so I apologize. That was my fault.
Yeah, I didn't wear my lucky hoodie either. We are undefeated this season when I'm wearing the Bills Run the East hoodie, so it will be on me on Sunday when I am in the stands in some beautiful, beautiful seats at the 50-yard line, 7 rows up. Maybe you'll be able to see me if you get some nice shots of the Bills sideline. But it's going to be a great game. I think I would love for a Bills blowout, and I know we don't really get into the nitty gritty of it because we already had an hour and a half show leading up to just Bills Jets. And it's funny too, because the name of the episode is All Sights on Mike White. And we're not talking about Mike White until like the end of the show. Like we had so much other stuff to talk about that now we're sitting here talking about the Bills and the Jets. And we're like, yeah, well, this should happen. And good night. Like I don't know what else to say. The Bills should handedly win this game. Like the last post-game show that I had to do was, I believe, against the Jets when I did that, and that was so embarrassing. The Bills, I said they get it together. They did. But it's just kind of like, I feel like this is a game where you just really need to 100% spin. I think that this is the game where the Bills literally need to be like, okay, we just stepped on the Patriots. The Patriots stepped on the Jets twice. We should win this game handedly. And if we don't, that's when you start getting into fraud territory. I'm sorry. Because you can't lose to the Jets twice. I'm sorry. Like, and the Jets are a good team this year. Don't get me wrong. They're good. I've been saying it since the draft. When I saw the draft, I'm like, oh, damn, that defense is going to be good this year. And what is their defense this year? It's damn good. So their offense has taken it's kind of lackluster. But Mike White seems to run it a little bit better. So do you have any closing thoughts on this game, Justus, or are you kind of in the same boat as me?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I want to see the Bills continue their level of excuse me, guys. Sorry, it's been a long day. I want to see the Bills continue their level of dominance that they had over the Patriots. Continue to make the AFC East your bitch, and keep on this path that you are right now. 2 losses, 1 win. But if you leave the AFC East with 4 wins and 2 losses, I don't think anybody is like too upset over that. You lost 2 close ones, whatever. But if you can win the other 4, I think all is forgiven. And, things look bright.
Yeah, 100%. But, of course, we've been your Friday night guys underneath the Friday night lights. I've been Jake, a.k.a. the Northeastern Nostradamus. He's been Justus, a.k.a. the GM, and we always finish this out by a little bit of final thoughts. Justus, is there anything that's on your mind, maybe not football related, that you want to just get out there?
Yeah. Oh, shout out to my guy Northern Dutch for the shirt. Oh, look at that beauty. Shout out to my guy Northern Dutch. Stevie Johnson hosted one-on-ones coming your way this April. in Buffalo, New York. So be on the lookout for that. We will start promoting it and pushing it. So that's going to be huge. And live podcast next Saturday at the Mafia House. Make sure you be there or be square. It'll be myself, Mookie Hawkins, Bills legend, and future Hall of Famer Ruben Brown. It's going to be a party. And yeah, I can't wait. My guy Jake is coming up for the Jets game this weekend. So that's going to be really dope. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. You guys know we appreciate every single like, comment, subscription, retweet, repost, and share, and everything you guys do for us. You guys know you're awesome, and we love you. So
100%. We're going to close this out a little bit here. Of course, the Bills do play the Jets. And if you're, around the Jets game, look out for me. Justus is going to be at like Hammer's Lot and doing a couple of
Mafia House, Hammer's Lot, Lori's. I'm all over the place.
He'll somehow find his way over there. I'm hopefully going to be hanging out with the dude while we're over there. I'm going to try to get over there super early. But yeah, no, come check us out. Check out all the other shows on the FAMbase, dude. Go check out like all of the podcasts too. We got a podcast network. Go check that out. There's some great shows there. And if you're just tuning in right now and you're like, dang, I just missed the show, go check it out on the podcast feed. It gets dropped in podcast form on Saturdays so you can listen to it on your day while you are just waiting for Bills football on Sunday. But of course, I've been Jake. He's been Justus. This show is built different. And we'll see all you guys next week.